Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are, in whichever realms of existence you are, whatever mind states you're in, whatever conditions you're in, you're welcome to my channel. I'm appearing off screen today because I need to do work while I give this, but I wanted to do this video while it's really fresh in my mind. So that I need to be doing work while I'm doing it. I need to be doing some cleaning and stuff while I'm doing it. So without further ado, what I want to talk about is, I hear people saying that there are allegedly teachers in the Hongwanji international community, Nishi Hongwanji international community, that have some kind of modernist approach or to things where that they're saying that they say that Amida is just a symbol, Amida is just a quote unquote myth, Amida is just, it's not meant to be taken literally. It's not meant to be, something that you think actually exists as an actual Buddha, and that Pure Land is not an actual place. Allegedly, this is being taught by some teachers or some priests or some modernists, and I have once or twice, a handful of times, come across that in all the years I've been looking into Jodo Shinshu. Okay, now perhaps it's because I wasn't looking for that. I was looking for the actual, proper teaching, not people's interpretation of it, whatever that interpretation, whether it's modernist or political or traditionalist, whatever. I was looking for the actual authentic teaching, the actual authentic transmission of Buddhism and Jodo Shinshu Buddhism in particular, and I have been doing so since the mid-noughties. Okay, and I have only this was only ever in the very beginning that I came across, a few handful, in the earlier years when I was looking and trying to find sources of information on the internet, where I came across this. Now, but it was very few and in between. It was very seldom that I found specific things that saying that Amida is a symbol or a myth. Now, and that's a whole nother subject when you call something a myth. But I don't see this. This doesn't seem to be this. I look around and I hear people what they're talking about. I hear very scholarly approaches, modern scholarly approaches, using multidisciplinary approaches to looking at Jodo Shinshu teaching, to looking at the history of Jodo Shinshu teaching, to looking at the figures of Jodo Shinshu, to looking at specific teachings of Jodo Shinshu, using a multidisciplinary approach, which to me, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And I think something I personally think the Buddha would support that kind of approach, because that, multidisciplinary approach using all your disciplines, science, social science, anthropology, history, every psychology, everything, but using everything, I think that would be in the spirit of the Buddha himself to do that. The Buddha, said, read broadly, test this for yourself, test the truth of don't accept what I'm saying, test it for yourself. And that's what a multidisciplinary academic approach does. So I see that in the international Hongwanji, and I think that is healthy. That's healthy. That's appropriate. We should be keeping, with our times, and beings. You know what I mean? We should be using all the tools, the modern tools at our disposal to look at these things. And so I see a lot of that, but I don't see a lot of people saying that. I don't see a lot of figures saying that a Amida Buddha is a myth, or Amida Buddha isn't a real Buddha, or I just don't. I've never seen a lot of that. I've seen it in a handful of places in the, say, 20 years, let's just say, or less than mid noughties, so less than so 18 years, whatever it's been, almost 20 years, probably even earlier than the mid noughties. I was looking into Pure Languagism, so I have only come across the thing of people saying in some way or some direction that interpretation that Amida Buddha is not a real Buddha, and that it was just a skillful means of the teachers, and of Shinran or something, or whatever angle it's only a handful that I've ever seen. Okay, and I hear people go on and on about this, and it's like, where are you hearing this? You must not be listening very much. You must be just looking for those specific people to read what they say, because I don't see it. Okay, number one. And number two, like I said, I think an academic multidisciplinary approach is a healthy, positive thing. Now, do you have to have a balance? Yes. Do you have to do all things in moderation? Even that? Yes. You can take deconstructing things too far. And I like the way that Aiken Kobai Sensei sort of handles these things, and says, there is a point where you have the religious view, and then you have the tools of the scientific, modern world, and the two are kind of very, have different approaches and different purposes, and so, you have to, at some point, you kind of have to have, you have a religious view and you have that view. And also the other thing is, and this is another part of the balancing of this, where I said, even you have to keep deconstruction and multidisciplinary approaches in moderation, keep it in, there has to be some balances and moderation to that, is that all of these multidisciplinary approaches and all of these, academic approaches and science and modern, and psychology and psychology, and so and anthropology and whatever the modern approach is, or even modern philosophical approaches, whatever, all of these things, including science, including hard science, and so-called evidence-based psychology, or evolutionary psychology, you have to take even science as that's something that has arisen in the Saha world, in the ignorance and delusion of the Saha world. So it's going to have its limits, and the people who that have come up with that contributed to over centuries and centuries of of knowledge and the development of science are humans. They haven't been enlightened beings. They're humans, maybe very intelligent, very genius, very amazing people, but they're still human. So they're in the Saha world. They're in the same ignorance and delusion, and have their own karmic causes and conditions as the rest of us. So, you have to look at science in that context, and all of these academic approaches in that context. And that's how that is balanced for me. But that's not to say I think it still should be used. I think it's a healthy thing. So, you have people that, I've heard this over the years, all these years, with among certain groups, go on and on about saying, well, there's people that say that Amida Buddha is not a real Buddha. And it's almost like that's like used as a tool to encourage their own, agenda, their own interpretation, their own kind of extreme literalist, fundamentalist view, which is also not helpful and is also unhealthy. So, and they emphasize this, but I don't see it. I've been exploring the Hongwanji for a long time, but in recent years, much more. And I don't see a lot of this modernist approach in terms of, saying that Amida Buddha is not a real Buddha and the Pure Land is not a real place. I don't see that. I just don't see it as a common thing among modernists. Now, I do see in the Nishi Hongwanji and, a international community, a scholarly academic approach thing that, and that's very modern, but that's good. That's a healthy thing. So anyway, I just wanted to say that is just something I just wanted to, I've thought about this for a long time. I've been thinking about this for a long time, at least a couple of years now. I just finally got to the point where I need to make this video. So just a quick one to say that. Yeah. So thanks for listening. Namo Amida Butsu. Until next time.